everyone. I'm Sharon, slash writing workshop. So first I'm going to read a little bit of my work. When Reverend Dave first asked me to come and lead a forum, he asked about a reading, but I wanted to sneak some collaborative writing in too. So first I'll be reading a piece of my own from you, and then we'll have a workshop together where we each can get started on a new piece of writing. And at that point we'll be writing from the starting point of each of our favorite hymns and songs as inspiration for a new piece of writing. So let your brain start working on that in the back of your mind. What songs stand out to me? What hymns are inspiring to me? Could make something out of. But I'll be reading some of my work first, and then we'll be writing it together. And like everything, this is a work in progress. And that's one of the points of our time together today, is that we can make stuff, it can be works in progress. Things do not have to be perfect. Making stuff is a good thing on its own. There's reasons for that, so that's it, I'll start. At the foot of the angel-studded bridge that crosses from the ancient hospital over the Tiber and out of the Borgo, a small and impractical courtyard sits wedged between two busy streets and an underpass. It is one of those leftover pieces of land, sometimes called refuge islands, that normally provide very little in the way of refuge beyond nominal safety from oncoming traffic. This one is about 500 meters from San Pietro, and is traversed all day by the people who have come from far and wide to see the basilica's wonders and its works of art. It must have been a headache many years ago for the city planner or whoever was charged with these bland municipal tasks to manage this incidental triangle of dirt. They could not plant grass there because all grass turns back to hard-packed dirt in the heart of the eternal city of Rome. Nothing soft and living lasts long underfoot. So the municipal workers put down paving stones to keep the dirt from becoming studded with broken glass or eroding into a pit of mud and trash. They installed a few slab benches and separated a terrace from the sidewalk with steps and low concrete walls. They planted 3 saplings, which was a kindness. On any given day, even now in January, when visitors are fewest, thousands of pedestrians pass on the island sidewalk, either down toward the crosswalk or up over the bridge, and almost none of them step up onto the little terrace. If it actually overlooked the Tiber, it might be a favorite place for tourists to sit and eat their fast food lunches, to stop and get a head count before leaving the Borgo, to take a picture with the water in Castle Sant'Angelo, refuge of popes and corpses, which sits like a massive cake at the bend of the river. As it is, from the accidental overlook, one can mainly see the highway that runs along the river, not the river itself. The tourists never stop there to rest, and the locals have better places to be. It is not so hidden as to be interesting to lovers or explorers or dealers, but is not so open as to attract attention. The courtyard seems to have no purpose, aside from housing the 3 cork oaks that are no longer saplings. Given this arrangement, it is not surprising that about a dozen men have taken up residence there. Their number and their durations of their stays fluctuate based on the day and the season, but now in the winter they are far fewer, but more permanently settled, nestled in the many trappings of keeping warm. On the coldest nights, puffs of breath plume up over the concrete walls. The far end of the island is crowded by 3 tents, and the 2 longer walls are already lined with lean-tos made of tarps, so someone has been left with a spot just at the entrance where the low walls open, the place most visible to the people on Via San Pio, and the sidewalk and the bridge. It is not necessarily the worst place to sleep. There is at least a bench, but there is no privacy and little shade. There are many, many reasons not to be asleep at night, and few reasons not to sleep during the day. There is the sun, of course, but it is easier to keep out the sun in the day than to keep out danger in the night. Look, the one sleeping in his most visible place appears to have covered himself and the bench entirely with an enormous tan sheet that drapes down to the ground and piles there. He has pulled 2 more blankets, orange and yellow, onto his torso and legs, and has leaned a small metal dolly cart onto his lap to pin them in place. His form is very tall, his shoulders broad and square. He has propped his covered head and legs up on his bag so that only his back rests on the bench. He curves upward, cradled by nothing. He must be very tired. The Pietà in San Pietro that the crowds have come to see, like every other Pietà in the world, has the benefit of a mother. A work of art called Pietà might show a slab of rock, a hill, a city, the other dead, the other mourning, but always Mary holding her son's ruined form. Though caresses are too late for such a body, mother at least lends some structural integrity to a son's slim figure, such that he does not have to find a place for his own head and feet. The cloud-covered days here are not beautiful, but they are warm enough to sleep. The coldest days are clear. The day is dim and gray and does not change in color or temperature as it goes on. Come back, look again. The form on the bench does not move for hours. The others enter and leave their tents, smoke cigarettes, argue lightly, leave to find food, discuss the day's news, wake up and return to sleep. Even the most exhausted roll over on their benches from time to time. It is the rare man who can sleep long and sound on a cold slab of concrete, even if he has been practicing for many years. But stillness comes easily for the man who is unconscious or on his way out of the world. Most Pietàs have their own private chapel, or at least a niche or a corner of a church. The least the world can give a body is someone to grieve it. The least the world can give a grieving person is a warm and safe place to grieve. The man is not breathing. The others, when they sleep, waver, hushing up and down like the Tiber at its banks. This thrice-shrouded form does not breathe, and no one touches it. The nearest Pietà to him is Michelangelo's, just out inside the entrance of San Pietro in its own chapel. There Mary's lap is wide and solid and bench-like. Either she has grown in grief or her son has shrunk in death, though both are much larger than any who come to see them. Two young, uncovered faces, meticulously cleaned by cotton swab and airbrush. Elsewhere in the basilica, the dead are on display. Corpses of popes lie beneath altars in illuminated glass caskets, glowing prisms like Snow White's coffin or the refrigerated display cases at the front counters of cafes. In one such fridge coffin, under the altar of St. Jerome, a short walk down the north aisle from the famous Pietà, lies Pope John XXIII, who convened the Second Vatican Council and died before it changed the church dramatically. He was too short and squat for the papal garments on the day he was elected, but in death he has been swathed in beautiful and well-tailored robes that are half lace, half velvet. Soft and pink, he really looks as though he might just be sleeping, except that he is very still and wearing clothing in which no one could reasonably sleep, and except that he is in a box. When, at the turn of the third millennium, embalming workers unsealed his original coffin, they found his body surprisingly incorrupt, and this might have been considered a miracle in an earlier time. To render his form even less corrupt, to prepare his death sleep for public sight, they submerged it in months-long baths of camphor, nitrobenzene, turpentine, benzoic acid. They wrapped it with linen strips drenched in mercury bichloride. They molded skin-like wax over his face and hands, and by the end, the inanimate remains looked remarkably animate, and all but one of the workers had died of cancer. A man carrying a white plastic bag crosses the street to the little traffic island. He walks with a slight slant forward as if his shoulders are impatient with his shuffling feet. He steps up into the courtyard, goes straight to the most visible place, and pulls back the tan blanket. The man underneath disappears, and there is only a pile of bags and packs as long and tall as a giant. It is not necessarily the worst place on the island to sleep, but it is undoubtedly the worst place to leave your belongings, even for a moment, because anyone could see them, decide they want them, come and take them. And so it has occurred to the man in this position that there is one way to make sure no one will want to look closely. When he has to go about his business in the city, if it takes any longer than getting water from the hospital lobby, he first meticulously positions, rolls, and sculpts his belongings into this most effective shape. The form of a man sleeping, is enough to deter all merely wandering visitors, because they do not want to be near difficulty or danger, and also because, despite their incessant photography, they do have some dim understanding of respect. A sleeping form, even though it is bags, wards off most thieves and cleaners because they see plainly that he may awake and confront them. But if it looks as though he may never wake, all the better, for who wants to discover a dead or dying man? It is the best defense against theft. All who notice a human form purposely look away. Beneath the feet of the hundreds of workers and thousands of visitors in San Pietro, beneath the marble feet of Mary, visible through the ornate brass grates in the floor, 91 dead popes are arrayed in great sarcophagi. In many cases, the likeness of the dead pope has been carved into the massive slab that covers his remains. Each stone man resting in high relief is much longer and taller than he ever could have been in life, smoother skinned and more serene. Their marble heads and feet are propped up on marble pillows with marble tassels and marble stitching. Marble linens draped down to the base of the sarcophagi and piled there. Marble cushions make the effigy of each man seem acceptably comfortable. As over the centuries they died one by one, each was adjusted and arranged to look as if he were only asleep. And this pretended sleep was imitated in stone, inanimate matter styled as dead matter, styled as someone alive and sleeping. How did the bag sculptor outside come to learn his art? What has happened over the many years of his life to teach him that people are almost certain not to approach the form of a person unmoving in distress, that his best disguise is death? We have never wanted to touch the dead. The human hand snapped away from whatever looked sick, dead, or dying long before we understood contagion or parasites. Even Mary's marble hand does not touch her son's skin. She holds her robe between herself and him. But because she so obviously holds and sees him, loves and mourns him, commentators interpret this not touching as an act of reverence. She is surrounded by the sustained and reverent attention of multitudes, and a bulletproof plexiglass shield keeps the multitudes from disturbing the dead in mourning. Before the shield, they often tried to touch her finger, touch her son's face, the wound between his bare ribs, her long and draping garment. Once, a man attacked the grieving mother with a geologist's hammer, shattering her arm and hand and cracking off parts of her face. He did not harm the dead one. Michelangelo's Pietà, like all the others, was created with the knowledge that the pain in those faces would soon pass. The crowds press in and look at the sorrowful mother and feel pathos, but the sculptor knew, and the viewers know, that 2 days after this scene, her lifeless, bare-ribbed son will be alive again. And this makes it bearable and approachable, so different from the sight of grief whose end escapes us. This sprawling form of Christ has people pressing in from all sides to see, to commiserate, to think of their relation to this pain, how they feel it, what they have caused. Outside, the sculptor's hands move more quickly than his feet did, and he excavates his bags and things with precision until he finds a gray and purple backpack and a black plastic bag. And after taking these things, he reassembles his belongings as they were and drapes the 3 blankets again, and there appears the man-shaped form, just missing breath. There is a brief word with a bearded head that has emerged halfway from a sky blue tent, and the man of true flesh leaves the island the way he came, slanting himself toward the basilica, and beneath it, its dead reel and rot in their own quiet city. Thanks for listening, y'all. So that's my long-winded example of writing from a place, which is one of my favorite starting points. A place captures your imagination. You keep finding yourself going back to that place. You need to sit there for hours and think about it. It's in your dreams. So if that happens to you, start writing. There's something in there. It's also my long-winded example of Lenten writing, which is writing that looks at the world and sees the grief, sees the gray days, doesn't need to wrap it up in a tidy bow. So that's also a good starting place for writing. Your writing does not have to have a happy ending every single time. The Lord is in charge of the happy endings, and you're allowed to write about reality. So we might each have a different place that catches our eye or makes us wonder. And since we can't go and sit in each one of our places right now together, I'd like to start a workshop based on another good place to start, for me at least, which is writing from songs, writing from hymns, writing from those little bits of language that just stick in your head or are always on loop or in your back pocket, or you can't get out of your head. So we'll each be able to start something new, a poem or a small bit of prose that we can take and chew on later.
Turn on off switch. There you go.
Maybe? Back.
Oh, do he?
Hello. Okay, we're back. All right. Thanks, y'all. All right, let's see. Yes.
Is it? Or?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Writing from songs. Yes. So all of you should have paper and a writing utensil. We will be using those. You're not limited to one page. Take as many pages as you need, but it probably won't be that long. So the first step is remembering, collecting, and jotting. You're a hunter-gatherer right now, mostly a gatherer. I don't know what we would be shooting. You're just gathering the pieces, and they don't have to all go together right now. But the goal is to think of what are those songs, those bits of hymns, those carols that are in your head all the time, or just stand out to you, or mean something to you, or meant something to you in a particular time and place. The ones that you're singing while you're doing the dishes, etc., or in the shower. So for me, for example, a few examples for me are, tomorrow shall be my dancing day, I would my I could sing that all day. I had to write a whole essay on it because it was stuck in my head. So whatever those things are that just stick in your head, that's where we're starting. And the first part of collecting is we're not just thinking of what are my favorite songs, or what songs stick out to me, or what hymns do I need to sing or feel like prayers. Think of a few of those, and then we're going to focus in on what are the particular lines that get you every time, or that give you a question every time, or that confuse you, or that feel, or even that feel off in the context of the song. They just grab you somehow. And you can look up the words if you need to, but don't get caught scrolling. Yes, 2 minutes of mad jotting. Jot, 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 jot. And for these brainstorming parts of the time, don't let your pen stop for too long. Just keep. Think of this, think of this, think of this. As many things as you can get down. We'll have time to rethink them later, edit later. Right now, let's just get stuff on a page. So 2 minutes. Okay, jot your final jots. Jot so fast. The time is ending. Okay, I'd love to hear some people's magic gem-like lines. What are those lines for you? What are those little bits of songs? What are those tunes for you? You can share, you can say them. Big bonus points if you sing them, but not required. Secrets are okay too.
Yes. Lift high the cross, Amazing Grace, abide with me, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord.
Some Episcopal favorites. Yeah.
Sing a song that sings to God. I want to be one too.
What wondrous love is this?
they can be churchy in a hidden way. Like another line that always gets me thinking is, I don't know if you guys know this one, but it's like, shut up and dance with me. And there's something deeply theological in that for me. God's like, shut up, let's dance. So any song will do. There's a poem hidden in every song. It's all good. Yes.
Well, you just made me think. The Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
You can't always get what you want, but you might just find out and get what you need.
Yeah, that'll preach. That'll preach. Okay, maybe one more?
I have one.
Yes.
Hang on. I'm sorry. Gotta get to it. I grew up as a little child. When I was a little child, I was in the 60s. I was born in 59. And I remember being in elementary school, Crystal Blue Persuasion. It was a beautiful song. 68. So I was like 8 years old. So I was like third grade. And it's just the most beautiful, and I want this song, when I die, I want this at my funeral. This is the most beautiful song. It's the most beautiful music. It's so peaceful, and it's a new day is coming. People are changing. Ain't it beautiful? Crystal Blue Persuasion. Better get ready to see the light. Love is the answer, and that's all right. So don't you give up now, so easy to find. Just look to your soul and open your mind. Crystal Blue Persuasion, it's a new vibration. Crystal Blue Persuasion, Crystal Blue Persuasion. Maybe tomorrow, when he looks down on every green field in every town, all of his children in every nation, there'll be peace and good brotherhood. Crystal Blue Persuasion.
Wow, that was real like a poetry reading. Yeah. We have a performer over here. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Wonderful. So we've collected some things. We've collected some berries and branches and nuts from the forest. And we've shared. And now for a brief encouragement. I have to warn you, I am no good at making things, said the bear. I don't mind, chortled Thing, who was just happy to be made. As we go into the part where we're actually starting to write some of our own words, I want to give you an encouragement that this part of the writing process does not have to be good, it does not have to be pretty, it does not have to be anything in particular. And even if the thing that comes out of this much later is a prize-winning piece of literature, making it have to be good or pretty now is not going to help you get there. Start making stuff, right? The Lord took 7 days to make creation, and he rested. So there's no pressure on this. God made us to be people who make things, to enjoy coming up with things. He gave us minds, he gave us hearts, he gave us songs in our hearts. So there's no competition here. This is not school, there's no grades. We're just being creative with the gifts that God has given us. So worry not. Thing is just happy to be made. Even if your poem looks like that. That's okay. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, the first and I think most important riff to start with, you take your pieces of language that you have, and then you go where they take you, and you describe what you see. So the questions are, does it put you in a place? When you sing this song, are you in a dark chapel with candles? Are you on the top of a mountain? Are you going through something? Are you on a train somewhere? Where does it put you? And describe what you see. Does it transport you to some landscape or scene? Does an object come to mind? Like when I'm thinking of, in him there is no darkness at all. What I imagine is a small light like a candle, slowly taking up the whole screen. There's no darkness left. So that's an image that comes to mind that I can start some writing with. Does what comes to mind for you when you think about the song? Let's think about the piece of language that you're working with. Does it look like something? Does it sound like something? You feel something? Smell or taste like something? Do you imagine a feast? Do you imagine a time where you were traveling and just had a little bit of bread and cheese in your pocket, but it was a good day? Whatever you imagine, start writing down some of the concrete things that it brings to mind for you. And we'll have time for a little bit of drafting. I'm just going to go through some of the different things you can think about first. More riffing, feelings. So then identify the feelings that emerge from the imagery or from the bit of language. But I would suggest, instead of saying, this makes me feel happy, put it back into image terms. Like, there's a warm glow here, or I see something blossoming, you know? So find a feeling, but try to put it back into words about concrete things, people, places, light, things like that. And then metaphors, of course. What is it like? What is it like? It's like when you get out of the exam after a 3-hour test. It's like when you've been with people all day and you finally get to walk alone through the woods. It's like when this. It's like when this. Or it looks like it. Just comparing it to something else that you've seen before, that you've experienced before, or that you can imagine. Even more riffing, and these ones come with big asterisks, okay? So, the story, what story or meaning in your life or elsewhere does this song bit bring to mind for you? And this is where a lot of the underneath power of a poem or prose can come from. I'm writing about this song, but I'm really also writing about this loss that I've experienced. Or I'm writing about this song, but the song makes me think of this person that I love and this experience that we had, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's often a backstory or an understory to why something draws us, or a period of time in our life that draws us to write. But you can consider how much to make it explicit or leave it under the surface. That's a choice that you get to make. So I wrote, our goal, at least to start, at least when we're starting out, is to show more than we tell. So instead of saying, what I learned in boarding school is, or what I learned here is, what this means to me is, that could be part of your drafting process. But we want to be able to fill it with really lively language and show someone into our world, show someone into our heart, rather than just telling someone how it is. So how do we do that? We'll come to editing later. 5 minutes of mad writing. I will start the timer. And don't let your pen leave the paper for too long. You can stop and think, just doesn't have to make sense, doesn't have to be all in one order. We'll have time for cleaning stuff up very soon. Jot your final jots for now. More jots will come for you later. It's now time to share, find a partner. A group of 3 is okay too, but ideally a partner, and brainstorm together, share a little bit of what you have, talk it out a little bit, throw out some words for each other that come to mind, and suggestions don't need to be taken, they just need to be offered. All right, friend. Give your very last life-changing suggestions, applauses, and critiques. For now. It's time for a mini edit. Woo, edit. It's the best part. It's the best part because you already wrote something and now you're just working with it. Like, the thing already starts to exist now, and so the anxiety of the blank page is behind us. We have something to work with, we have something to mess with. It's all good. Okay, so for our mini edit, first of all, I got to sit with a few friends and hear a poem. It's a remix of a song. I got to hear a song that inspired memories of a loved person, and I got to hear prose that explored a song being woven together with memories of a place. So I'm already excited by what I'm hearing. So for a mini edit, the goal is, it's not show, not tell. We're gonna tell some, of course, we have to tell, but we want to fill it up with specific, concrete details. So if I'm talking about a time that I visited my sister in the hospital, I'm not just going to say, I visited my sister in the hospital I felt glad to see her, but sad that she was sick. I'm gonna say things about what I remember, the color of the tubes, what she was wearing, if that was something that held some weight, or the stickiness of the hospital jello and how we laughed about that. The details are what's gonna bring the story across to someone, and also help you weave it in with music if that's what you're doing. So we're going toward concrete and vivid nouns and verbs. The chair. The verb, I heard some good verbs over here. Would you share a few of the verbs in yours? You had some good ones.
Me?
Yes.
Oh.
Call for good work.
Sounds, found, do not see, thought, bringing, feeling.
Yeah. And what we're going away from is we don't want to have too many abstract nouns. An abstract noun is something like compassion. Abstract nouns are things like compassion, love, animosity. They're concept words. And we can have a few of them and use them really powerfully. But the more concrete stuff we have, the more other people will be able to see into the scene that we're describing. And we don't want too many adjectives in a row. Normally, you can break any of these rules. I can be easily convinced. But if we're looking how to edit, if we're having the woman's long, beautiful, black, silky hair, blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe we don't need all of them. Maybe there's another way to say what we're saying. Just a thought. So we're gonna do like 3 more minutes of mad writing, mad editing, crossing things out, circling things, making weird squiggly lines, and then we're gonna share. And you don't have to share it, but I encourage the norm to be sharing and then opt out if you don't feel like it, but everyone is welcome to share. And I can use my fancy microphone as well. So 3 minutes, and then it's sharing time of our works in progress, knowing that they are works in progress. Going to be open mic time. Let's go. Do I have a super brave first volunteer? Yes, a super brave first volunteer. No pulling teeth involved.
All my life, I've been a visual artist. This is not my stick, okay? I took this from the song Amazing Grace, so I semi-plagiarized it. Sounds sweet. I am found sometimes. Sometimes I do not see. Grace has taught my heart, bringing me safe, feeling through belief I see.
Thank you. When I heard that the earlier version of that a few minutes ago, I called it a remix. It's great. Not people plagiarize in that way all the time, and it's great. We have to use other people's work as long as we know where it's coming from. Yeah, not a problem. Okay, who's next? Come on down.
Sarah.
Thank you. So I wrote about the hymn, Breathe on Me, Breath of God. Charlotte, an elegant widow in her 90s, lived alone in a stately stone house with a pool in the backyard. She swam every morning and sang a different hymn for each stroke. She sang Breathe on Me, Breath of God while doing the backstroke. Charlotte was a tiny woman, always impeccably dressed and coiffed. For her daily swims, she wore a leopard print one-piece suit, high-heeled slippers with pom-poms at the toes, a purple turban, and a silk robe that she would toss onto a chaise lounge before slipping into the water. She was bird-like, elegant in movement, but frail. That's as far as I got.
Is this nonfiction? Is Charlotte?
I'm sorry?
Is this nonfiction? This is a real person?
Nonfiction.
Wonderful.
All right. The song that I read out to you earlier called Crystal Blue Persuasion, it brings a coastal feel to me with a beautiful sun shining high in the sky, making the water sparkle as life sparkles on shore with families enjoying life on a new adventure. Not a waiting place, but a connecting place. The shore is like the end of one life and beginning of another. That's how Jesus makes me feel. He is the connection. Jesus came into the world, and now there is no darkness when you look at him. Look to your soul and open your mind. Love is the answer, like Jesus brings. Get ready to see the light of love. And when Jesus looks down, he will see peace and good. And then we will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is Release.
Wonderful. I hear multiple songs happening, a whole mixtape in there.
Thank you.
Yes. Who else would like to share? Okay, I have one I can share. So I did this exercise last night to make sure the slides were in the right order, and because I knew I'd be too flustered today. So the song I was thinking of is, Jesus, Joy of Man's Desiring, that tune. So there's an English version, and then there's a German version that has totally different words, and then there's an English translation. Anyway, that's what I was working. But the line was, well for me that I have Jesus, etc., etc. And I was just thinking about the line, well for me, and how many different things that can mean or directions it can go. So anyway, here's the part. Well for me that I am here in your wandering home, your daring softness, the molting moth. Well for me that I am given to the desire of the sun, though too many little suns catch me in their little brightness and break me in their dimming. Well, for me there will be the whole sun. I will not leave the looking. Okay, any final performers?
I'll jump up.
Yes! I was giving you the eye. Creative writing.
No pressure. So the songs, I thought of what Wondrous Love Is This, which you heard me singing, and that's an old shape note hymn that comes out of the American South. I also thought of a hymn that we sang together this morning, not Wondrous Love, When I Survey the Wondrous Cross. So those were the lines that were running through me, and the place it took me was back to the southeast, when I've been in like the Smoky Mountains and that type area. So that was the place that those brought me. So have that in mind as you hear these lines. When I survey this hollow and see granite slabs like calved glaciers and thickets of rhododendron, I can see ghosts of shape note singers in the ruins of a cabin. They lift the roof that is no longer there and sing, what wondrous love is this, these cardinals darting in the cool canopy, the salamanders slipping into the creek. This quartet of men and women singing with a power that eludes them as soon as Monday comes.
Thank you. I can tell you have a great writing PhD.
Yeah.
Thank you all for writing. Thank you for sharing with each other, with the group. It's been really wonderful to be with such a nice bunch of people who are willing to follow my writing instructions. And I'm really impressed with what's come out of even a few minutes of writing for you all. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful